Hi, I'm Chris Crutcher, and I'll be reading from my oft-challenged book, Deadline. In this particular scene, the main character, Ben Wolf, is challenging his narrow-minded social studies teacher about curriculum. And there's plenty in here to challenge if you happen to be a narrow-minded social studies teacher. So how come we didn't study Malcolm X in history? It's 2 days later, and I've had time to read a little more of Lowen's book and a little more Malcolm X, and have become even more indignant about my education. I'd like to discuss this with you, Mr. Wolf, Lambert says, but as I said, this is current events, and Malcolm X has been dead for around 40 years. Sooner says, Jesus, Wolf, give it a rest. Go see the movie. Matter of fact, I did see the movie. Denzel Washington was Malcolm. Wonder why he didn't win the Oscar for it. Lambert says, are you saying it was because he was black? Geez, I say, I never thought of that. I'm going to put this to sleep, Mr. Wolf. I went back through last year's U.S. history notes, and as a matter of fact, I did mention Mr. X in 2 lectures. There are limits to what you can cover in the short period of 2 semesters. Now, if it didn't meet your standards, I'm sorry, but we're going to move on. And I have to tell you, I've decided to put your Malcolm X street naming project out of range. The truth is, the school has a levy to pass this year, and if you're canvassing for something that frivolous, we could lose that levy. So move on to another project. You're going to sabotage my education for a few bucks, I say with exaggerated disbelief? Does Idaho have an ACLU? ACLU's in California, you dipshit, Sooner says. Dallas says, that's UCLA, Sooner. Every state has an ACLU. Well, pardon me, Sooner says back. I am single-handedly driving this class out of control. Lambert raises his high hand, supposedly a signal for all to fall silent. That's enough. Now let's get this class back on track. But I have been armed by James Lowen. Did you know that when it came to the indigenous populations of the West Indies and Haiti, Christopher Columbus had about the same sensibilities as Adolf Hitler? How come you didn't teach us that in U.S. history? Mr. Wolf, I'll say it one more time. This class is about United States government and current events. If you took issue with my history curriculum, you should have said it back then. But I'm on a roll. Okay, then how come you haven't told us about the Native American influence on the ideas put forth in the Constitution, and particularly on the Bill of Rights? Dolvin says, Jesus, Wolf, did you whack your head against the goalpost when you dove for that catch? I spend the last half hour of class in enforced silence.